Men do not need much time to get to know you. That is a fear-driven lie. Now, let's talk about why. So, if you are a part of the Western world, you probably have a pretty good idea of how men have been extremely fear-mongered into or out of marriage, out of the family unit, and why society has convinced men that they need to take the time and get to know a woman before deciding if she is worthy of marrying. And granted, some of those factors are very well justified, but I want to tell you why it's a load of bullcorn. So while yes, it does only take the male brain 1/5 of a second to determine whether she is sexually attractive to him or not, the most instinctual part of the male brain, it only takes a split second to determine that whenever he lays eyes on her. But that does not determine whether she is worthy of marrying. So remember, men have a female energy in them too, that a female side to them that they need to embrace and embody, just as we have a masculine energy that we need to embrace and embody. So they need to have a healthy connection to their feminine energy. But being sexually attracted to a woman is a must in the male world. So that is not always the initial prerequisite for women, but for men, in order to determine if he is sexually attracted to her, he needs to be able to verify certain things about her female health. So feminine energy women will produce an adequate amount of the female hormones that signal that she is vital, healthy, and fertile, that she is nourished enough in order to bear a child, carry that child to term, and then care for that child once the child enters the world. So all of these more primitive traits are determined by her biology. Clear eyes, rosy red cheeks, clear skin, nourished hair. And these are the important traits that men have to look for in procreating. So apart from the physiological aspect and more into the energetic aspect and more psychological aspect, how feminine women show up in the world and carry themselves and present themselves to others, how they speak, how they nurture other people, like how nurturing they are. This also is a factor into the male brain of how worthy she is to be a wife. So, is she kind to others? Is she compassionate for others? Does she portray a level of emotional intelligence? Does she carry confidence in herself? Is she humbled enough to help people that may be beneath her rather than belittling them? Is she virtuous? Does she value her health? Does she have clear boundaries for herself that don't really need to be spoken because she just carries it within her, in her energy? These are more character traits that men will judge in order to determine if she is marriage worthy. So there are biological aspects to it mainly, but there are also character traits in it. But probably the biggest lie that men have probably tried to sell to you is that it will take at least a year of getting to know you to determine these things. And my darling, that is far from the truth. The only time that it may take a man a year of getting to know you is whenever sexual intimacy is on the table. If physical intimacy is on the table and commitment is off the table, that passion will filter and blur your judgment of one another pre-marriage. Whenever researchers would ask men and women their views on living together before marriage, men had different perspectives than women, naturally. So men would view cohabitation before marriage as a way to test the relationship or postpone commitment. And on the contrary, women viewed it as a step towards marriage. And let me just say this on men's behalf, okay? Men are not always aware of this, okay? It's not like all men are going into the relationship and they are consciously thinking, yeah, I can't wait to be with this woman and test her out, and see how it goes. And, I get to test the relationship in order to see if she's worth me fully submerging myself in and investing all my resources into her. It's not like they're consciously thinking that, right? It's something on an unconscious level. Sometimes they unconsciously perpetuate this pattern because they are being fear-driven. So I can promise you, if you take sleeping together off the table, most men, they do not need a year of getting to know you. They just don't, okay? So 2 to 3 months of getting to know you, and they're not being intentional about marrying you, but they're not getting physical with you, you will just watch them disappear. Bye-bye. And that's what you tell them. Bye-bye. And then you just let them disappear and fade to black. Because any man that's not being sexually involved with you, he doesn't need a year to determine whether he wants to sleep with you or not. Men see feminine women and know very soon if they want to wife her up. Now, here's what I will say, is that men may need more time to know in themselves if they are ready for marriage, if they feel worthy of it, if they feel adequate enough to her, if they feel like they can provide and protect and, give her all her heart's desires. That's what they may need a little bit more time to figure out for themselves. But it has nothing to do with her and everything to do with their own internal issues. So ladies, stop taking it so personally. Usually it has nothing to do with you if a man feels like he doesn't want to get married, okay? Usually. Sometimes it does, a woman is contributing to why he doesn't want to, okay? But if there's no intimacy on the table, then more than likely it has nothing to do with you. Now, women, on the other hand, do need a little bit more time to vet men, okay? And that's because masculine energy is more tangible. Masculine energy is external. Masculine energy provides and protects and provides resources, tangible things to show. So what men provide has to be shown through their works and vetted properly for her to determine if she can feel safe in his protection. If you think about how in some cultures, the man that wants to marry the daughter has to go to the father in order to be vetted by the father so that the father can determine whether this man is worthy of taking his daughter into his care and his provision. So those kinds of things do require a little bit more time, okay? And also the time that she gets to witness him providing, right? So he's paying for the dates, he's making sure that she's safe in his presence, right? Every time she's around him, he's paying for everything. These kinds of things take a little bit more time in order to know if he is worthy of her. And then on the emotional side of it, women are more slow to grow in their attraction. Because we don't experience sexual attraction initially, we are more slower to grow in our attraction because we have to feel a heart and emotional connection to him. So, basically we need to feel like he is seeing us, hearing us, understanding us. He's, grounded in the chaos. He can provide structure and stability even in the midst of craziness and chaos. Feels like he validates us and sees us for the underneath layer that we don't show to the world, the intimate parts underneath the beauty. So when we show that to men, men are then able to integrate their own feminine energy, and become more embodied into that feminine side of them, and kind of rest in that feminine energy in them, because we lead with that in ourselves. Does that make sense? So masculine energy men, they need a soft, feminine, nurturing woman to be able to healthily integrate their own female energy. It's how they can feel more connected to others. It's how they can feel intimacy, within themselves, because they just don't have as much of the ability to connect to their own feminine energy without the presence of woman, without the intimacy of and from a woman. So it is whenever we lead with that they can feel a little bit more comfortable to showing theirs and showing those parts of themselves. So it is us feminine women who need a little bit more time sometimes in order to vet if he would be a good provider and a protector, and, be someone that can hold her through being impregnated, right? Because when we're pregnant and we're so vulnerable to the world and we can't do for ourselves and we can't work, we need to, investigate in order to find out if he would be a good fit for that, and if he would be a good father to uphold his end of the commitment and make sure that the child and us, we have everything we need once that child is born, okay? So it does take us sometimes a bit longer in order to vet men and allow ourselves to feel emotionally safe with him, okay? And in this modern world, it's not an appropriate question to ask a man what his house looks like or how much money he makes. Those sort of more personal questions. It's just not appropriate, and social media has really triggered a lot of fear in that for men. But normally, if he is a masculine energy man and he's a provider and he plans to, be a provider to you, then normally a guy will show off his assets in some kind of way. He will let it be known to you what he owns, where his house is, what his house looks like, what he does for a living, if he makes a lot of money. Like, masculine energy men like that, they usually have no problem bragging about it and, wearing that. So it's just the biggest lie that men need a whole lot of time to get to know you, okay? Because when you're being intentional and you know what you want and you go into it with no rocky feelings about it, and you know where you're supposed to be heading, they don't need a whole lot of time to get to know you, right? 2 or 3, 4 dates, and you're either continuing on or you're cutting it off. The kicker for it is that usually they need more time to know in themselves if they are willing to, settle down for the stability of marriage. Literally, I have guys that just come in and out of my life, and it'll be for a few months. They just kind of pop in and realize that I'm not going to be a girlfriend. I'm not signing up for that. And I'm not going to sleep with them. I'm not going to go to their house. I'm not going to do the boyfriend and girlfriend activities. And then, so they just disappear. They just literally fade to black. All good guys, no hard feelings, good energy. But masculine energy men, they just don't have time to waste on a woman who is not giving herself intimately to him, okay? They're just not interested in the charades of it, okay? I mean, this is a testosterone-driven man. He has every right to have the sex drive that he does, and he should, okay? But they need to be they will usually use that more intentionally and purposefully rather than just, charading it or playing games around a woman who really isn't reciprocating the energy back to him, or if he's just all in all not ready to settle down. And to give you another example of this, one time I had dated a guy who I had known him on a very first name basis. He was in the community, didn't know much about him, and vice versa. And then years down the line, we ended up crossing paths again, and there was some sort of spark. So we went on like 2 dates, and he really liked me, and liked who I was and who I had become from whenever he knew me when I was younger. But he just wasn't in the place to want to really, get married and actually like put it on paper. And he pretty much directly communicated that. And I had a lot of respect for him. Like, no hard feelings, it is what it is. There was attraction for him, but he just wasn't ready to make that change in his life. And so it was done. It was over with. And I just graciously accepted that. And I still think the world of him. I think he's a great man. He just obviously has some things to, work on in himself if he does desire a long-term partner. It's just that I wasn't the one to wait around until that happens. And honestly, there's not a bone in my body that truly believes when men say they don't want to get married. I don't believe it. They just have it so, they have so much easy access to women now. So that's become their belief system. But I truly don't believe that when a guy says that he doesn't want to get married, it's because he really truly believes that. I do strongly believe that most men do want the stability of marriage, but they are just being highly fear-mongered out of that commitment. And we like men as feminine women who are more direct. We respect men a lot more who can be straight up with us, who can straight up tell us that they like us, attracted to us, want us, desire us, or if they don't and don't want to make a commitment. Like, we highly respect that as women. And feminine energy is more of the ever-changing, can't make up her mind kind of energy. So we appreciate the opposite of that in men, more of that stability. And I had also dated another guy who the romantic feelings were very much there, but they were mainly unspoken on his behalf. And that in itself it just didn't feel very safe to me. And it just felt just like walking on broken glass. Are you in, are you out? Just something that wasn't very attractive for long term. So once he kind of figured out, okay, she's not going to do the girlfriend thing, she's not going to, lay down with me. But yet, he wasn't willing to again make the commitment, all in, and submerge himself in a second marriage. So, he just disappeared. And again, that is perfectly fine, right? Because I can graciously accept that. And to be honest, I don't really blame him because he has so much easy access to women. Now, that doesn't mean they're all quality, but just the easy access that men have now, the power that they hold, that we have given to them as women. It's just like, why would they want to, why would they want to literally change the whole trajectory of their lives when it's not even necessary anymore, But as feminine woman, you got to stay true to your values, hold firm to what you desire, and, just not be willing to settle. So anyways, that's all I'm going to say for today's video. This is why I highly encourage rotational dating, where you do completely opposite of what culture promotes and you do not get into these boyfriend-girlfriend long-term relationships, but rather you do a version of rotational dating or dating multiple men, vetting multiple men, getting to know people, network, all of that thing until you find the right one, he comes along, and then you get married pretty quickly, okay? Because that's how it works for when you're truly feminine, you're truly embodied in that energy, and you know what you're looking for. That's how it works. So, no boyfriend, girlfriend relationships here, just not something that I would promote. If you are doing that, then, I mean, hey, whatever works for you. I understand that it's something very common today. So, most people do here in the West fall for that. Just personally, that's just not something that I'm willing to be. So, I'm going to speak up and promote what I promote and promote what I believe in. Okay. So that doesn't make your decisions wrong. I'm just giving you another way of looking at it. And all the women in my family have gotten married very, very quickly. My grandma, she's, obviously she's older, her husband now, they were both widowed and they met each other, dated for like 2 months, got married like 6 months later. So it was very, very quick. He knew right away. So that's just how it happens here in the South, for us more traditional women. But back with the rotational dating, I do have a whole lesson on that in my feminine dating course, which you can gladly check out. And I'll leave the link to that down below if you are interested in investing into your dating life and dating experiences. And as always, make sure you leave your comments and questions. Send me a DM if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, or you can privately message me your question and tell me a little bit more about your situation. I do get back to all of you that do reach out to me. So thank you guys so much. Make sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah.